Ahoy, mateys! Let's set sail on this treacherous sea of mischief and mayhem called piracy, where the only law was the one written on the belly of a rum bottle. First up to the plank, we have the infamous Blackbeard, otherwise known as Edward Teach. This man is perhaps the poster child for pirate cliches. Fierce, bearded, and a hell of a lot of cannon smoke. Operating around the early 1700s, Blackbeard's most notorious ship was the Queen Anne's Revenge, known for its blockades and shenanigans on the American East Coast. Picture this. He'd ignite slow-burning fuses tied into his beard during battle to create an unapproachable visage of devilish fury. But alas, his reign was cut short in 1718 when he met his watery grave after a few too many confrontations with the law, solidifying his legend as one of the most infamous characters in pirate lore. Now, every time you see a Halloween costume with a faux beard and a cutlass, you can bet your last doubloon it's inspired by our hairy friend. Now let's sail into the turbulent waters of Captain Kidd, otherwise known as William Kidd. Arguably one of the most misunderstood pirates, Kidd started his life as a privateer before descending into the role of the scallywag. He was hired in the late 1690s to hunt down pirates, but as luck would have it, he found himself turning into one instead. Talk about the ultimate plot twist. With a crew of ruffians and plenty of treasure to stash, he decided that a life of piracy was far more glamorous. His exploits were not just confined to the typical pillaging. He was known for a bit more sophistication, pirating cargo, and arguing his way through trade routes. The buzzkill part? In 1701, he was captured and brought to trial, where he squealed out his tales of betrayal and mishaps. Ironically, Captain Kidd's story became legendary, partly due to the treasure that many still think he buried somewhere. If you're ever out treasure hunting, maybe keep your eyes peeled for Kidd's stash. Who knows what kind of loot you could uncover? Off we go to the colorful world of Calico Jack, or as his friends called him, John Rackham, if they dared. You couldn't miss this guy. He was dressed in flamboyant clothing made from calico fabric, making him a veritable pineapple in a bunch of bananas. Operating during the early 1700s, Calico Jack was more about style than substance, but his daring escapades, including the commandeering of the ship Revenge, were nothing short of legendary. His crew included the fierce Anne Bonny and Mary Read, two lady pirates who were as tough as nails. Rumor has it that he was captured after making a dramatic decision to anchor in an area quite close to the authorities. Oops. In a turn of events that could rival any soap opera, Bonnie famously declared she'd rather face execution than return to the life of a landlubber. Calico Jack's colorful adventures may have ended in a hanging, but his legacy lives on in pirate lore as the mascot of mischief and rebellion. Speaking of rebellious characters, let's chat about Anne Bonny, a pirate who could slice a man's heart out just as easily as she could give him a flirty wink. Born in the late 17th century, she lived life on her terms, smashing societal norms as effortless as she cracked open a barrel of rum. Raised in a wealthy family, Anne was nothing short of a chameleon, flipping between high society and the swashbuckling life of a pirate. Alongside her equally awesome partner in crime, Mary Read, Anne became known for her fierce temper and unmatched sword-fighting skills. When captured in 1720, the judge reportedly said she'd have been a man if given the chance. Talk about a compliment. Ultimately, though, the details of her fate remain as murky as the waters she roamed. Did she escape and live a life on land, or meet a splashy? The world may never know, but her legend sails on, inspiring strong women everywhere to carve their own paths. Sailing into the Caribbean waters, we encounter the notorious Henry Morgan, a man whose name is written in both the annals of piracy and rum. This Welshman turned buccaneer wasn't just a ruffian. He was a genius of chaos, managing to raid Spanish territories without losing his coffee cup. He earned his fame in the late 17th century with daring attacks, notably on Panama City, where he led a traditional-style heist filled with cannons and cunning. What made his story even more fascinating was his simultaneous knack for political savvy. After his piratical escapades, he became the lieutenant governor of Jamaica. Talk about the ultimate career leap. His tales of adventure are legendary and peppered with mischief and marauding tales, as well as the love for good old-fashioned rum spiced up with some law-bending. If only all rascally rogues could turn their trails of misdeeds into political careers. Morgan might just be the shining example. Our mateys. Let's now weave through the tale of Jean Lafitte, a French pirate and privateer who is as enigmatic as pirates come, gloriously elusive in both his endeavors and personal background. Operating mainly in the early 19th century, Lafitte was a savvy businessman who understood that the waters of the Gulf of Mexico were not merely for sailing, but for cashing in. He established a base of operations in Barataria Bay, where he artfully played both sides of the law. One day, he'd be raiding merchant ships, while the next, he'd be negotiating his services to the U.S. government against the British forces. It's like he had a master's degree in how to have your cake and eat it too. Although he's often glamorized in literature and film, Lafitte's legacy isn't merely romantic. It highlights the complexities of loyalty and patriotism. In the end, he became a legendary figure whose tales would inspire countless stories, securing his place in the annals of swashbuckling history. What's this? A Sir Francis Drake, the only man authorized to pilfer from the Spanish with the royal seal of approval. A bit confusing, isn't it? Born in the 1540s, this English pirate and explorer was not just robbing trade routes, but filled with the spirit of adventure and exploration, sailing the seven seas in search of glory and gold. In fact, he even rounded the globe from 1577 to 1580 on a mission that could make anyone's travel Instagram look weak. He was instrumental in defeating the Spanish Armada in 1588, cementing his legacy not just as a pirate, but a national hero. Drake's exploits took so many twists and turns, it's almost as if he had a pirate's guidebook. With a reputation for being both charming and ruthless, he truly resembled a blend of dashing rogue and tactical genius. Just remember, if you ever hear someone extolling the virtues of piratical governance, you might want to thank Sir Francis for paving that golden path. Now we turn our minds to Black Bart, also known as Bartholomew Roberts, another brilliant gem from piracy's treasure trove. Emerging in the early 18th century, Roberts managed to corner the market on swashbuckling, sinking more than 400 ships. Yes, you heard that right. You'd have to be a goldfish to remember them all. Known for his glamour, he was sometimes dubbed the King of the Pirate, sporting fabulous clothing and even a luxurious ship, the Royal Fortune. The man certainly knew how to throw a pirate party, but what set him apart from the average rank-and-file buccaneer? Roberts established a code of conduct for his crew, laying out rules on how to distribute treasure and handle disputes. Talk about organizational behavior in the not-so-organizational arena of piracy. His untimely fate in a skirmish off the coast of Africa marked the end of his adventurous life. But his legacy as one of the most successful pirates lives on. Let's not forget the gallant Charles Vane. This wild soul lived life lavishly and stormily in the early 18th century. He was the embodiment of the adventurous spirit, but with more flair than finesse. Vane was famous not just for his seafaring exploits, but his penchant for refusing to be tied down by rules, often openly opposing structured authority, including the infamous Pirate Code. This rebel pirate refused to plunder captured ships unless he considered the ransom acceptable, making him a sort of pirate prima donna. His crew sometimes wondered if they were under a pirate captain or a flamboyant diva. Vane's reign did meet a tempestuous end when, after a few battles and betrayals, he was captured in 1721. His life was a roller coaster of antics that still captivates the imaginations of swashbuckling enthusiasts. So, the next time you hear the name Charles Vane, just think of the swaggering pirate who's too fabulous to follow rules. Cheers to that. Next on our adventure aboard the good ship Treasures and Tales, we have William Fly, who thought that a pirate could have a name that sounds more like a bad pun than a feared rogue. Active in the early 1700s, Fly claimed his slice of the piracy pie with confidence. Seizing the opportunity to plunder at sea, he captained the ship Fame, a name that saw all sorts of irony when he was caught and sentenced to hang for his criminal deeds. Now here's the kicker. Instead of the usual face your death grimness, Fly went out in a blaze of glory, delivering a rousing speech against the hypocrisy of the law before he met his maker. A pirate's life is one of freedom, he declared, which is about as galvanizing as a farewell speech can get, before joining Davy Jones's locker. While his piratical ship was sunk, his spirited resilience and fiery word remain anchored in the lore of the sea. So raise your flag to this impassioned buccaneer. May his colors fly high in our hearts. Finally, let's unfurl the sails for Fanny Campbell, a name that often gets overshadowed in the grand sea tales, but had her own unique adventure. Operating in the late 19th century, Campbell set her sights on proving that pirates weren't just a gents' club. With pride, she crossed the Caribbean while managing to become the first woman to circumnavigate the globe, a feat that could make even the most seasoned sailors green with envy. Fanny changed her dress and demeanor to blend in among the men, proving that not all pirates fit the mold. She even became a treasure hunter and participated in dives for lost loot. Unsurprisingly, her life was filled with peril and adventure. Fanny Campbell's audacity made her a pioneer, reminding us all that the spirit of adventure doesn't have a gender. So, let's hoist a glass to the woman who dared to defy the odds and sail her own course, making waves in a world dominated by the likes of Blackbeard and Drake. Found this video interesting? Then leave us a like and subscribe for more videos like this one.